Jay, how are you?
Good morning. It's great to be on with you on Super Thursday, and it's Yellowstone, not Yosemite.
No, that's it. Well, I've got Joe Biden disease, so
Yeah.
you're like,
You know the thing.
you know the thing, about the.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by go. You know the thing.
You know the thing. Now, Chuck Box, I have been doing this show for 20 years, right? And I've probably done 10 author interviews a year. So I've done more than 200 author interviews. I have never found a book more difficult not to give a spoiler away than Long Range.
No kidding.
I think that is a compliment of the highest order.
Well, thank you, and I completely understand that. Yeah, I've been thinking about this day for quite a long time, thinking how are you going to do this? How are we going to do this?
I have a plan. I have a plan,
Oh,
but lots
okay.
of people have plans in this book that don't go right.
That's right.
So lots of people have plans. First of all, I want to assure everyone, Burgo Partners in the book and Stockman's there. If you're a C.J. Box author, there are some things that are like comfort food and you expect to see. And do you have a checklist, by the way, that you've got to put Stockman's, Burgo Partner, and a few other things in?
You know, I don't have a checklist, but I think mentally, as I'm writing each book, I kind of touch back, I kind of remember the foundations of it, of going back to the very first book, open season 20 years ago, and try to hit those kind of touchstones and kind of grounds me, brings me back, and hopefully brings the reader back to where we got started.
Yeah, it's a pretty extraordinary arc of success, and it's still rising. I want to emphasize that. But 20 Joe Pickett novels later, did you ever in your wildest dream imagine that a Wyoming game warden could become a cult figure?
Absolutely not. No, what I should say is, I knew that the world was waiting for a Wyoming game warden series, and I was the one to bring it.
All right, I know one thing I can talk to you about without giving any spoilers away, because it's early in the book, and I'm not going to tell people what happened. But I wasn't expecting Grizzlies. We've talked about Grizzlies before, but there just aren't that many of them. But it turns out I'm wrong. There are enough of them up where you live that it's becoming an issue.
It really has. It has become an issue. There's more and more. They were on the endangered species list for quite a long time, and now they proliferate in certain parts of Wyoming and the Mountain West. And the Grizzly Bear story you're referring to is based on a real incident that happened about a year and a half ago, where basically two homicidal grizzlies, unprovoked, attacked a hunting guide and his client. And killed the guide, and it became a big deal around Wyoming and around the hunting community because there had never been anything quite like it, where despite what the guide did, the precautions they took, the pepper spray they used, they were still killed.
Now, I'm 64 years old, so anyone who's listening will immediately remember, if they were Sports Illustrated readers, in 1969, there was a grizzly incident in Yellowstone that became a cover story in SI and then a book about killer grizzlies. It was impossible to forget, Chuck. Have you ever come across that story?
Oh yeah, yes. When you sent me the link, I read that. I'd never heard of that one before, but this is very similar. And there's the thing is what's kind of happened is that the theory is that some bears have become acclimated to hunters in the woods, and that a gunshot is just like a dinner bell. Once they hear it, they know there's an elk down. There's probably going to be a gut pile, which they want to eat. But in this particular instance, the hunters were bow hunters, so there was no shot, which makes it even creepier.
No, now there's a couple of details. First of all, the craft of writing. There is one scene. I'm not going to give away any details about who the three game wardens are, but the three game wardens are around the back of their truck, resting their elbows with their hands dangling inside. It sounds like you've seen that yourself.
I have seen it. I do ride-alongs with game wardens, and it's kind of common when people see each other out in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming to kind of stand around the back of the truck and dangle their hands in and talk. Yeah, that's a common scene.
It was just a very nice little detail. Now, tell me a little bit about, and this is what I can talk about without giving away anything as well, long-range rifles. There is an unmistakable tone of regret in long range that they have come to the wilds of the West.
Well, it's like I love to write about ethics and dilemmas um, and just I'm a hunter, know lots of hunters, and the technology and unbelievable advancement in rifle technology and optics, which is maybe even more important, have made it possible for anyone who can afford it to buy a rifle that you can hit a target at 1,000 yards, 1,200 yards, straight out of the box. And I know that to be the case because I did it. When I was researching the novel, I went to a place called Gunworks in Cody, Wyoming, where they produce these unbelievable rifles. And, I was hitting targets I couldn't see with the naked eye right within minutes. And that is, people in that community, whether they're competition hunters or big game hunters, know that the technology has gone well beyond what anybody ever thought was possible.
As Nate had said, page 127, and any man could now be a sniper. The average Joe hunter could own a technologically advanced and engineered rifle that was beyond anything a military sniper had possessed 20 years before. So you're saying at the turn of the century, the highest grade sniper rifle is less than equal to what the average Joe hunter can obtain today.
That's exactly true, and I'm not doing it in a pejorative way.
No, you're not.
It's all horrible. I heard a great argument just very recently from a hunting guide, in fact, who said he had one of these rifles, and that he carries it with him. So if his client happens to wound an animal that's suffering at a long distance, he can dispatch it and take care of everything very quickly. But at the same time, it's unnerving to think that people can have these kind of weapons, if they're not, if they don't have the ethics you want them to.
Now, Joe loses his truck early in this, so people are going to have to wait and see how, in fact, the truck. There's always a truck angle, but at one point I began to write down the number of simultaneous plots you had going on, and I stopped at 6. And I mean, how did this take comparatively more time to plot out in detail than the average Joe Pickett novel, which normally has 3 or 4, but this was at 6 within 15 or 20 pages?
It did take a little longer. It's a little more technical because of all of the plot threads that are going. Hopefully, they're not confusing.
Oh, they're not. They're not.
The thing is, what's fun to do, what's challenging to do is to have a lot of plot threads like that going that all come together in the end.
And so, did you have to land? That's actually, I don't even know how you did it. I have no idea how you pulled this all together because did it take a month of sitting in the basement looking out that window with your head knuckled on your eyebrow?
Well, I no longer sit in the basement. Now I have an office on the top of our horse barn.
You've moved up in the world.
Yeah, I have. I walk through the horses every day to go to work. But yes, it did take a lot of plotting and planning and outlining to get there. But it all. I know this is not a spoiler. It all started with the inspiration of Judge Hewitt and County Attorney Dwayne Patterson. Once I had those two characters, it all fell together.
I'm not. I am back. Judge Hewitt is back. Short, dark, and twitchy,
So am I.
and so is County Prosecutor Patterson. But the plot twists in this are remarkable. Let me tell you. Have you had any reaction from fans yet?
Well, no, because today is the debut. It just launched today, this morning.
Is Amazon in any way impacted because of coronavirus?
Not that I'm aware of. Amazon is so hard to figure when you look at the rankings of the books. I don't think anybody, other than those that at Amazon, really know how it works. I have been watching the ranking go up by the hour, but I don't know how you really track that.
Where are you going on tour, C.J. Box?
Well, I'm talking to you from Scottsdale, Arizona, this morning. We had an event last night, and then tomorrow, or tonight, actually, I go to Denver, and then Tulsa, and everything's. It's a 2-week tour. It's all on cjbox.net if anybody wants to come, and I would encourage them to do so.
I'm looking at a Houston stop, a Lexington. You're going to Houston? Really? They got a broken water main down there, and of course you're making it through the Mountain West. What I'm getting at is, I think Joe's broken out, and has he broken into TV? I know your other character has. I want people to get that word. Who's broken into TV?
Well, the other series, or it's kind of half series that I do, Cassie Duel series, Bitter Roots came out last year, is going to be a television show on ABC this fall, done by David E. Kelly, who's well known, done a million shows on TV. And then Joe Pickett is in development at Paramount Television, probably destined for Charter Spectrum. They're launching a new service, and it's been very exciting and crazy after all these years that all of a sudden there's 2 television shows in the works.
Have you gone Hollywood on us, CJ?
Oh, absolutely. No, I have not.
Yeah, you're wearing black shirts, black T-shirts. The boots are gone. You're wearing high birds or whatever. All birds is what the Hollywood crowd is wearing now. You've just gone over to the dark side?
No, I haven't, but I will tell you, I went out and visited the writing room of for the Joe Pickett show a couple of weeks ago in Santa Monica, and it was fascinating. Everybody was so young working on it, but they'd read all the books.
Oh, how did that go over? Were there any Westerners there who have picked up, things like it's going to get Western around here pretty quick? Have they picked it up?
They have. They actually had little 3x5 cards that they pasted all over the walls of the room, big room. And for plotting a 10-episode series and all the little hallmarks. It was kind of eerie. It was like watching, looking at my entire life in one room.
Well, this is just so super.
23-year-old writers.
This is so super because they're you again. Back when you were a starting writer, and they're working with C.J. Box, and they will love. I always say start at the beginning and end. You don't have to. You can read long range and then go back and work. You can go and order it today, and you'll like it in hardback. But congratulations, CJ. This will be a #1 New York Times bestseller, and I have to say, it is the equal of any other one that you have done. It is. Hat is off to you, and after a few months, we'll come back and talk about the spoilers that we can't talk about this morning.
Oh, I'd love to do that, and thank you so much. I appreciate over the years how you've read the books, and we keep having these conversations, and I just really appreciate it. And I listen every single stinking day.
Did you hear Tom Cotton just give you a shout out that the thing he's happiest about on Super Tuesday is that it's drop day for the new book, Long Range?
No,
he just did that. I'm trying to get news out of a United States senator, and he's standing by his mailbox waiting for Long Range from C.J. Box to arrive. Take care, C.J. Box, our author extraordinaire of the day, the new book, Long Range, on Super Tuesday. It will get you through a long night. It got me through a full day of flights, hours and hours of flights. You know what else got me